Good morning. Oh, sorry. Good morning, Long Island. Holy heck, I didn't even realize the microphone wasn't in front of me. Good morning, Long Island. How's everybody doing today? Not just Long Island, but I know we got a lot of people watching from a lot of places all over. Welcome once again, broadcasting live from the America First Media Campus. This is We Will Not Comply. Good night. Wow. Good. It shows you how much I slept last night. I really didn't do much of that last night. A lot of things went on, and I'm it was a long day yesterday. I gotta leave it at that. For those of you who know, yeah, there was some stuff that went down last night, and maybe at some point in time we could talk about it. Has nothing to do with Rockville Center. Rockville Center School Board was on fire last night. The room was generally full, so we're very happy with that. We'll be talking about that in a second. Justice for Jussie. Finally, we have justice for Jussie. Finally, we've got justice for Jussie Smollett. Juicy, right? We finally got justice for him. But thank you for jumping on this morning from the America First Media Campus, episode 36. We will not comply. Got some stuff to talk about. It's going to be a fun day. We're ready to rock and roll. First of all, to everybody who came out to Rockville Center last night, very happy and very proud of everybody last night. It was a good day. It was a good time. You know, there were moments where things got a little testy, but that's all right. One of my favorite highlights of last night was when when Rockville Center, and this is something that I'm going to bring up and tell you to do at your district's meetings, because it's one thing to be told that your district is not teaching critical race theory, but we figured out yesterday, thanks to some brainstorming with the Rockville Center parents and some folks who were there in Rockville Center yesterday, and this is a video that's going to play because you can never go to you ever see this? You can never go to a website without some sort of calamity happening on the screen. Anybody ever notice that? You go to a website to learn how to make, you go on a website to learn how to make a certain dish. You go on a website to learn how to maybe you're getting a new workout routine. You go on a website maybe to get the news, and you get inundated with pop-ups and sound and cookies and all sorts of craziness. Hey, not interested. So I just went to foxnews.com, and of course I saw Rhino Brett Baer pop his stupid head on the screen here, and I didn't really want to deal with that. There's another pop-up down on the bottom right-hand part of the screen. We're going to hopefully make sure that doesn't make any noise. But last night, it's one thing if your district tells you they're not teaching critical race theory. That's a great thing. By all means, I don't want you to think, I don't want anybody to think that that's where it all ends, right? I don't want anybody to think that just, my district said they're not teaching critical race theory, so we won. No, you didn't win yet, unfortunately. It's a good thing. We'd be happy that you're not teaching critical race theory over there. I'd be thrilled to hear these things. But last night, and I wanted to go up and say it, and I didn't say it because, and they opened the mic up to non-residents. It's not my job, right? It's not. Of course, I want to be your voice, and I want to help you, and I want to do all these things for you. I don't want to just do all the. I want to do everything with you. But we had somebody come up to the microphone last night, and we talked about how to ask this question, and it was great because he used this line from The Princess Bride. You use the word, but do you know what the word really means is the question, right? It's great. So he asked, we said it's a great idea to ask, a district says we're not teaching critical race theory. That's awesome. Yes. What is critical race theory? Interesting, right? You need to ask your district, and whoever it is within your district, if it's your superintendent, if it's your assistant principal, if it's, whoever it is at those board meetings who are saying it's not happening, or our district is not teaching critical race theory, which is great. conceptually. You need to ask them to define critical race theory. Because when those folks last night in when they're both red, when those folks in Rockville Center last night were asked, can you define critical race theory? They were silent. Silent. Imagine that. So you, on one hand, have a stone-cold guarantee. A stone-cold guarantee. Right here. We are not teaching critical race theory. We are not teaching critical race theory. And on the other hand, they say we cannot define critical race theory. So how can you tell me it doesn't exist if you don't know what it is? And this is a problem that I believe we're going to encounter in a lot of our school districts. It hit me last night. I'm going to go tell the residents. I don't think any of these school districts can define critical race theory. I don't think any of these school districts can define what CRT actually is. I don't think any of these school districts can define, can define where it came from or can point to its origin. Critical theory. Critical theory was a Marxist, socialist, whatever you want to call it, concept to pit the classes against each other. Critical race theory is just a concept that pits the races against each other. Why do they want to pit the races against each other? Or in the case of socialism, communism, Marxism, the classes against each other. Because if everybody fights with each other, the ruling class rules with no resistance. No resistance. And so what we deal with now is we're upset that critical race theory has infiltrated education, because it has. Last night at Rockville Center, a book was discussed. The author of that book was Ibram Kendi. Ibram Kendi obviously is a CRT radical. Oh, he's anti-racist. No, he's a racist. He's a raging racist, Ibram Kendi. Well, that book was apparently being distributed or read from in the Rockville Center School District. They said, wait a second, what happened to no critical race theory? Oh, you know what their explanation was? Well, we're teaching it through the lens of empathy. Really? Okay. So you're teaching a book that's basically rooted in CRT through the lens of empathy. So it's okay, folks. Don't worry about it. No. That's not the way we're going to play this game. That's not the way the parents are going to play this game. A couple of times in Rockville Center last night, Bill A8378 was being talked about last night a couple of times by a couple of people out there that were very, how do I say it? They were very informed. The people did a lot of research last night. These parents, these residents did a lot of research last night and got there and presented their points and presented their facts and presented their cases very, very nicely. They can't define critical race theory because once they start defining critical race theory, what happens? They start realizing that, holy cow, our whole curriculum is critical race theory. Someone made a comment yesterday that, well, you shouldn't be at a board meeting doing gotcha questions. That's not a gotcha question. If someone tells me that something does not exist where I'm going, I need to make sure that that person knows what that something is. Let's say I owned a camping resort. Okay? Let's say I owned a camping resort. How about that? Let's think about that for a second. A place where everybody gets to go hang out, camp. You got cabins. You could get tents. Not glamping. Glamping is for, no, I don't do that. I've been camping a long time. I've been doing all this stuff. So it's a fun thing. I love to go camping. Camping, real camping. Take everything you can in a backpack, get a tent, pitch it. Doesn't matter if it's 0 degrees. You're prepared out there. I know that's not for everybody. It's okay. It's all right. Let's say I own a campground. And one of the complaints that a potential customer had was, let's say, Sean, does your campground have bears? Are there bears on your campground? And I go, sir, ma'am, am I allowed to assume your gender? Okay. No, there are no bears on my campground. Oh, great. We'll be there next weekend. Family comes next weekend, right? Family comes next week. Who thinks we should do a loud majority camping trip? That would be a fun time, right? Who thinks we should all just go like 30 of us and just take over a campground for a weekend? Not in the winter. I know. It's too cold. It's too cold to go out there now. It's too cold. I don't think it's too cold. But actually, it could get unsafe for some folks who don't have the right equipment or right stuff. But if we do a loud majority camping trip, and hey, we want to rent a huge cabin and just kind of do it, we could do that too. That would be I'll tell you right now. Hey, Andy Whitman said he's in, so we know we'll have pizza. Hell yeah. Kimberly Revere. I'm going to give you a shout out over there on YouTube. Cold air means no bugs. That's why I love the winter. No bugs and no allergies. I love it. But anyway, if someone said to me, I'm coming to your campground, do you have bears? And I said, no. And then I go home and the people are camping on my campground and I say, okay, great, I got an email. I look at it. Sean, you said there weren't bears. What do you call these? And there's 2 pictures of bears. And I go, well, I don't know what those are. They're going to be like, dude, those are bears. You told us you didn't have these things here. You told us you didn't have bears here. No, it's not that I knew we didn't have bears. I didn't even know what a bear was. So it's not that your district may not, your districts may be telling you we're not teaching critical race theory, but do they actually know what critical race theory is? Do they actually know what it is? I was talking to a reporter yesterday. I'm not going to name who it was. Look, it looks like everybody wants to go camping, by the way. That's fantastic. I was talking to a reporter yesterday. Not going to tell you who. Not going to name who it was. It's Settle. Yeah, I see Andy Whitman in the chat talking about Liar, Liar. Great movie. And the reporter was talking to me. We were talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the reporter says to me, hey, I'm looking at the DEI and I'm on page 2. And I said, oh, and you got stuck on line 19, didn't you? The reporter says, yes. How did you know? Because I've been talking about this since April. The Long Island Loud Majority has been talking about that line and the backbone of diversity, equity, and inclusion since April. Ladies and gentlemen, who are watching this, if you're on YouTube, I'm by the way, I'm a big pen pointer. I just realized this the other day. I swing these things around like I'm Harry Potter. For those of you watching on YouTube, for those of you watching on Facebook, for those of you watching on Twitter, hey, Twitter, April. My account only had 3,000 followers in April. Now we're almost at 70K. Thank you guys for joining and being so kind. But if you look at how long we've been talking about DEI, it was before Smithtown's board elections in May of 2021. We have been talking about DEI and how it is very similar, if not a mirror image of CRT, since April, ladies and gentlemen. And so what I want to tell you right now to everybody watching, whether you're in the chat here on YouTube, whether you're watching on Twitter, whether you're watching on Facebook, whether you're listening later on the podcast, we will not comply. what I can say, if you're watching and you're listening through those different channels, what can I say? I don't even remember where I was going with that. It's been a very long day. I didn't sleep last night. We've been talking about DEI since April. You're not wasting your time here. Not that I thought you would be. Or that I thought you would be. Good morning from San Antonio. Good morning, Texas. How are you? You're not wasting your time here. We've been talking about DEI. You know, I was at my cousin's wedding, actually. And his wife, and again, congratulations to Matthew and Meredith. His wife's from Texas, and I met a bunch of her family from Texas. And believe it or not, one of the gentlemen said to me, hey, we're having an issue down here with school boards. We're having an issue down here at school boards with something called diversity and inclusion and equity. And I went, holy cow, you're having that problem in Texas too? Wow. So it's happening everywhere. Line 19 and 20. They're in the diversity, equity, and inclusion framework mentions, and it says that implemented into the curriculum, we must talk about the senseless and brutal killing of black and brown people at the hands of law enforcement, as if this is a thing that happens all the time. As if this is a thing that happens all the time. Hey, North Carolina's in the chat this morning. SEL, social emotional learning, and all of these districts talking about that they're providing all of this social emotional support. Really? Because it's a story out of Brentwood. I don't think you guys understand the amount of work that's being done behind the scenes right now with these schools. But there's a story out of Brentwood that I'm going to talk about later in the show, because it's time to raise awareness for these tragedies. Public school right now, and it hurts me to say this, is not a safe place for children. Public school right now is not a safe place for children. There's an article in the Patch, and I'm just going to mention it now because I have spoken to this person, and this is not a political thing. I know you come here, we're involved in politics. This is not political. Okay? A child, well, we'll get through. This is going to be tough to get through because this is so sad. Mother speaks out against bullying after daughter's death. A few months following Bernice, her name is Bernice Simmons. I don't know if you guys know who that is. Bernice Simmons, 16 years old, was endlessly bullied by her teachers in school. And she was a student who felt a certain way, LGBTQ, and had her beliefs. And you guys, you know where I stand on a lot of these things. But folks, again, my biggest stance on this is if you feel a certain way about yourself, it's okay. Right? Just don't impose your life on others. That's not what she was doing. Bernice was being told by teachers that she was using the wrong bathroom when she was using the ladies' room because she had a short hair kind of haircut. Bernice was targeted by teachers, bullied by teachers, and any teachers that were coming to her defense were also targeted. I spoke to Bernice's mother, Cherie, and she's brave and just it isn't right what happened in Brentwood. And Bernice Simmons has since passed away. We don't know if that's because of the bullying conclusively, but we do know that Bernice made it clear that she tried to take her own life because the teachers were bullying her. And she told the superintendent that. And her mother found all of these self-harm on her. And she raised questions, and I don't know, it seems like not enough was done. This happened a year ago. Have any of you guys heard about it? Anybody? Has anybody in the chat heard about this case? Anybody? You guys know the name Bernice Simmons? A case like this, we put politics aside, because you will see, if you look up the name, you will see groups that we have had issues with that are supporting her. It doesn't matter in this case, folks. Could be your kid, too. It's one thing to be bullied by your classmates. It's another thing to be bullied by the adults in the district. And the fact that nobody in this chat has heard about Bernice Simmons, the fact that I didn't know who Bernice Simmons was until Wednesday, is disgusting. Where were you, Newsday? News 12? Where were you guys? What happened? You know who I think is involved? After talking to the mom? These criminals right here. Speak out against the teachers union. You know, Cherie is not allowed to post about her daughter in certain groups, Brentwood parents groups, because they're controlled by the unions on Facebook. It's not just us that are getting censored, folks. This is a really scary, disgusting world that we live in. And again, when you do your research and you look up her name, Bernice Simmons, you might see some political beliefs that you don't agree with. I'm asking you, as a patriot, I'm asking you, though, because I know you guys are kind. I know you guys have a good heart. I know you guys are very compassionate when we talk about children. I know that the following in this group is 70-30 women to men. You know how that would be, how we would feel if that was you. Mourning the death of a 16-year-old girl. She passed away of a pulmonary embolism. And apparently the doctors had mentioned that it was natural causes. But she tried to take her own life before that because of her teachers, and she told the superintendent of Brentwood School District, "How do you feel that I tried to take my own life because of your teachers?" And that superintendent never answered the question. Folks, I don't care about politics in this case. And if you do, and when you do your research and you look up Bernice Simmons, you're going to find one article in the Patch. And I swear to you, if I receive political messages about Bernice Simmons, you will be blocked. And I never want to hear from you again. This is not a political issue. These districts want to talk about social emotional learning. These districts want to talk about the mental health of their students. And I've been using this word since April. Predators in the districts. Predators in the schools. And you called me crazy. Not you. Not you. Not the people watching. There cannot be another Bernice Simmons. And I'm not trying to put the death of this beautiful girl, I'm not trying to say that it was the school that absolutely caused it, but I will tell you something. If it wasn't that issue that she had in her lungs, the blood clot, the pulmonary embolism, that's not the point of this story. The point of this story is she tried to take her own life because of her teachers before that. She wrote, school is there were all these videos that her mother found on her phone about how she just wanted to be dead because she didn't want to go to school. But social emotional learning, folks, mental health. Ladies, gentlemen, we're hiring social workers for the school districts. Yeah, well, guess what? I heard how those social workers talk to these kids. And it is disgusting the way they talk to these kids. And I have the audio. And I'm not going to release it yet because there's legal implications for it, because this is a much bigger case happening in another school district. But I've got the audio. And you will hear it one day on how these social workers who are supposed to be out there caring. And I'm not, again, I'm not saying every social worker in these districts are bad. I'm not. I don't do that. But for the amount of time that we have to hear, you've been going to these board meetings and you know what I'm talking about. For the amount of time that we have to hear over and over and over and over and over again that we're doing the best with the mental health of our students, and yet they're strapping them up in masks and making them wear masks the whole day. The amount of times that we hear over and over and over and over and over again that we're trying to accommodate all children and diversity, equity, inclusion, and SEL and mental health and social workers. The amount of times that we hear this over and over and over again, and then we see this story, and this is not something that happened 10 years ago. It's happened last year. This was happening in 2020. That was out of Brentwood, Bernice Simmons. And there are more students who have already spoken out about how awful they're treated in Brentwood. And it ain't just Brentwood. There are so many other districts where stuff like this is happening. This is beyond diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is beyond critical race theory. And this is beyond all of the curriculum-related materials that we've been talking about since April. It breaks my heart to say it, but the public school system, the government school system right now on Long Island is not a safe place for kids. Your kid may not be having a problem, and I really I hope and pray that your child does not experience what Bernice Simmons experienced. Being bullied by her teachers. Being bullied by her teachers to the point of wanting to kill herself. It's kept me up the last couple nights. A couple other things have kept me up too. You know, by now, I'm sure a lot of people have seen rumors and stuff circulating around social media regarding things that are happening in schools, and I can't comment on any of that. I cannot. But I will tell you, we thought we had an issue on our hands with the public schools. We thought we had an issue on our hands with the curriculum and with the masks and with the vaccines. It's a whole lot worse, guys. And I'm not running away from this fight. But I am telling you one more time, when you look up the name Bernice Simmons, if anybody who's watching this right now or listening to this as on a podcast, We Will Not Comply, comes up to me and says, well, you know, they had so-and-so at their protest, I am going to block you faster than anybody has ever. Oh my gosh. Don't you dare. This case is not a case for politics, Bernice Simmons. If you guys can go on Google and just write Bernice, Bernice Simmons, Simmons, patch, like the patch, and find that article and post it everywhere. It would mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to her mother, and I will be in contact with her today. That story hurt because it could happen to anybody. It could happen to anybody's kid. We want to make sure it never happens again. We want accountability in that school district. I want accountability everywhere. You may read that article in the patch, and you again may see faces and groups and things that we don't agree with, and that's okay. This is an entirely different issue, and I know the other side, they may not do the same thing for one of our people who suffers the same problem, and I don't care. It's about being better in this case. No child should have to endure what she endured, especially not in school. You see the mental health and the mental well-being of these students taking a nosedive, and yes, the pandemic was challenging, and you go remote, and then you're going back in school, and you got the mask, and now everyone's talking about vaccines, and there's all this curriculum-related stuff, and it's really, really a mess. They are the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway. You can see I'm a little rattled by it because it's just, I didn't think it was this bad. I was a little naive to it. But yes, this is not a political issue, and we will not make it a political issue. And her mother and I, and we're talking to several people. Jennifer Roman was just commenting in the chat here from West Babylon that suicides are up, and that there are kids that are taking their own lives all over Long Island. This is an epidemic. It's I never thought we'd see this happen in our own backyard, and yet here we are. I don't want this to be a negative show, though. It's Friday. So let me just grab a drink, and we'll talk about Jussie Smollett, all right? We'll have a little fun for the final half hour. I don't mean to weigh you down, but this stuff is important, and I don't want that to go. I don't want that to go and get swept under the rug. I made a promise to Cherie and to her that I would at the very least, tell all of you about Bernice Simmons, because none of us heard about it, and it's disgusting. Rose Chabaro on the chat writing, teenage female suicide is up 52%, as per an article in Sunday's paper. There are plenty of issues that we can get out there on the political landscape and fix, and that will help situations like this. We can make it better, but it is going to be a very long fight, and it is going to be a fight that most of the fighting and most of the battle is going to be uphill. I don't ever want to come in front of you on these cameras and talk to you about things and tell you that it's going to be easy. None of this is going to be easy. None of this is supposed to be easy. None of this is designed to be easy, folks. But if it's not easy and it's righteous and you know it's the right thing to do, then damn, it is worth fighting for. And I am going to fight for it. And I hope you fight for it. Story broke my heart. Hearing that it happened to so many others too, and hearing what Jen said and what Rose just said in the chat. Donna Smith is 100% right. We need school choice. We need that cap on charter schools to be lifted. And I do know that Lee Zeldin has spoken about this issue. Lee Zeldin running for governor. Because currently there exists a cap in the state of New York, the amount of charter schools that can operate. Meaning if you don't live or you don't have the means of getting your kid to a charter school at that point, you just have to send them to public school. This is not the end of this story, unfortunately. This is an epidemic. And I don't think it's isolated to Long Island. Babylon School District, the sexual misconduct. Babylon. So, we will be touching back on that a lot as the weeks go on. And updating you and just, talking about it and raising the proper level of awareness. Because it is disgusting what's going on in public schools all across Long Island. Not just from an educational standpoint with curriculum, but the way these kids are treated. Look, I know high school's tough, and sometimes you get picked on, and sometimes whatever. It happens. That type of stuff happens with your classmates. I get it. That's going to go on. It's not right, but it happens. Kids are kids. These things happen in school. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, it goes on. Everybody's been through it. But if it's coming from teachers, we have a huge problem. Okay. Woo. All right, let's talk about Jussie. How about that? How about we talk about Jussie? We're going to put that. I'm going to put Bernice Simmons and I'm going to put this article from the Patch in the show notes today. Again, it was involving the Brentwood Central Islip School District. So, again, I don't mean to weigh you down with really, a heartbreaking negative story, but you have to hear it. If I don't tell you about it, I'm doing just as bad a job as all of the other media outlets who ignored this story. I don't know why they ignored it, but I won't. Because I don't care where this person leaned. I don't care where anybody affiliated. She should not have had to endure that. She's a child. And I know you guys understand that. And when you read the article, you'll understand what I'm saying. And I spoke to her mother, and she is incredible. And I want to do everything I can to help her raise awareness about this issue and at least, try to see if there's a way to prevent this from happening to any other kids, including yours in the chat, folks. Jussie Smollett. Juicy Smollett. Okay? Fake the hate crime. We no longer have to speculate about that. There is a verdict. Jussie Smollett was guilty on 5 out of 6 charges. He claimed he was attacked in Chicago in 2019. It's a Fox News article that I'm going to be putting in the show notes along with the article in the Patch about Bernice Simmons. Jussie Smollett was found guilty on 5 out of 6 charges at his hate crime hoax trial. Before we talk about that, ladies and gentlemen, just halfway through or 2/3 of the way through at this point, I see a lot of people are watching on YouTube. You see, I have stopped streaming the show to my personal Facebook account. And the reason why I've stopped doing that is I want a lot of traction, everybody to direct their attention to the Long Island Loud Majority Facebook page and do something very important right now. And that is to check your page invites on Facebook and make sure that you have accepted the invite to like and follow Long Island Loud Majority. The reason being, a lot of people don't either follow it or like the page and are not being notified on when things are going on. Everything that's going to be happening with regards to LILM and Loud Majority and all of that is going to be talked about on this stream, which is uploaded as a podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when we do the show. and it gets sent out in an email that you can sign up for at loudmajorityus.com. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at the shot right now. There's the website. Kevin's not here. He's not feeling well today. We wish him well. But loudmajorityus.com is the website. You can see it right there on the screen. loudmajorityus.com. If you head to that website, you can sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter is going to be, it's two things. It's our show notes, which means we will be sending you every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You're going to get an email that says stream information, and there'll be articles and whatnot that we talked about on the stream that we share with you. This way, if you do listen to the stream or you do listen to the show, the podcast, we will not comply. If you do that, and if you listen to the podcast, we will not comply. You can actually read along and read these articles with you. It makes it a little bit of a better experience. So we do it to satisfy the audio needs, and we do it for those of you who are watching on video who want the articles. For those of you who are watching on video, in the morning, we do that so that you can kind of punch it along. I know there's a lot of people. I heard from a parent last night at Rockville Center that they drive to school and leave the stream on, and the kid's right there in the car. One of the kids asked his father, said, "Hey, who made the coffee this time, Sean or Kevin?" That's so cool, guys. I'm so happy that this is becoming a part of the mornings for y'all. I'm honored. I'm thrilled, and I want to laugh, and I want to talk about this Jussie Smollett story. So loudmajorityus.com. loudmajorityus.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Folks, I see you on YouTube. We've been getting a lot more traction on YouTube lately. That's amazing. Now, it's amazing, but it's also scary. I don't want to support YouTube too much, but we do want our channel to grow. So if you can please help us grow our channel on YouTube, what you can do is you can hit the like button. You can subscribe to our channel. You can go up to the top there, that notification bell, and you can just give it a little... Okay, turn on that notification bell, and you'll get notified every time we post new content, every time we go live. At least that's the way it's supposed to go work. So please do that. Please do that. Olive Caruso wants me to include the weather. I don't have my wireless mic set up right now, or else I'd do a little green screen setup for you in a little bit, but I can't do it right now. Maybe we'll do. But let's talk about Jussie Smollett. Thank you guys again. You're on Facebook. There's 126 of you, some odd. I'm not sure if it's an accurate number. It's probably more than that. Watching on Facebook. It's great viewership. Watching on Facebook right now. Please share the show. Hit the share button. Share it to your personal feeds. I don't post it on my personal anymore. I get everybody on the Facebook page. So share the show. Like the page. Make sure you're inviting your friends. Let's grow this sucker. It's 16,000 follows on this page on Facebook, guys. We're doing great. We're growing like we've never, we're growing so fast. And it's amazing, and I really appreciate you guys with the shares. By the way, the FJB house that's in West Babylon was reposted by Donald Trump Jr. on his Instagram story. So that's pretty cool, too. So Long Island's been making a lot of noise. Let's talk about Jussie. Justice for Jussie! Finally, Jussie Smollett was found guilty on 5 out of 6 charges at his hate crime hoax trial. After a contentious week of witness testimony, counsel arguments, and deliberation, the jury found Smollett guilty on the first 5 counts and was acquitted on a 6th count of lying to a detective weeks after Smollett said he was attacked. Smollett was stoic as the jury read the verdict. The actor sat upright and stared straight ahead without showing any outward emotion. He's an actor. Wasn't a very good actor with the hate crime, but we move on. Judge Lynn said he will order a pre-sentencing investigation, and attorneys will meet via conference call to determine a date for pre-sentencing motions. The judge also said the jury will not be speaking to the media today if it ever chooses to. He's also having deputies escort jurors to their car. The 39-year-old Empire alum was charged with 6 counts of disorderly conduct related to false statements to Chicago police officers about a 2019 hate crime against him. In 2019, he claimed that 2 men attacked him due to his skin color and sexual orientation. He was found guilty of telling a police officer he was a hate crime victim, telling an officer he was a battery victim, telling a detective he was a hate crime victim, telling a detective he was a battery victim, and then telling a detective again he was a battery victim. He was not found guilty on a 6th charge of telling a second detective he was an aggravated battery victim. Count 1 accused him of telling responding Chicago police officer Mohammed Baig at around 2:45 a.m., 45 minutes after the purported attack, that he was the victim of a hate crime. He said 2 attackers put a rope around his neck, Count 2 referred to Smollett telling the same officer he was a victim of a battery, describing attackers beating and pouring bleach on him. Counts 3 and 4 stemmed from Smollett making the same claims but to a different officer, Kimberly Murray, later that morning just before 6 a.m. Count 5 accused Smollett again of telling Murray around 7:15 p.m. that he was the victim of battery. Count 6 referred to Smollett telling reporting on February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2019, to Detective Robert Graves that he'd been a victim of an aggravated battery. Well, we know what happened. Following the guilty verdict, Special Prosecutor Dan Webb addressed the media and told reporters that his message to the jury was that Smollett, quote, faked a hate crime and then lied to the police about it and then compounded his crimes by lying to the jury during the course of his trial and insulting their intelligence. You know, I wonder if he can be charged for lying under oath. I don't know if he ever testified. I think he did, because I remember when I posted on Twitter, name one thing you trust more than Anthony Fauci, and everybody, a lot of people responded with Alec Baldwin on set with a handgun, which is pretty funny. Shout out to Gavin in North Carolina, and then also responded with Jussie Smollett's witness testimony. But Webb also delved into the man hours that he believes went into investigating Smollett's hoax attack, telling the media members that, quote, 26 Chicago police officers spent 3,000 hours of time. Now think about Chicago. What's happening in Chicago? There's a lot of gun violence. There's a lot of just crime that is skyrocketing in Chicago. Because, we got to defund the police. Got to defund the police. Okay. You think about it. Do you think maybe those 3,000 hours that they spent looking into something that did not happen, maybe that could have been used to prevent? That could have been used maybe to prevent those other crimes that happened in Chicago? You think maybe if 26 Chicago police officers weren't distracted by a hoax, they could have actually done something useful in Chicago and actually maybe kept the city safe? Maybe. But that didn't matter to Jussie. Jussie didn't care. Jussie's in trouble. It cost the city well over $100,000 for a fake crime that never occurred, added the prosecutor. And by the way, a fake crime that denigrates what a real hate crime is. And finally, somebody is talking about this. We talk about how the left loves to use the term racist and white supremacist and white nationalist and Nazi and all these, all these terrible, terrible words when it's not true. This is an issue, right? This is a problem. Because the real victims of real racism, which exists, folks, I'm not going to come up here and tell you, guys, don't listen to them. Racism isn't real. No. There are racists out there on every side. There are white people who hate black people. There are black people who hate white people. We saw that Darrell Brooks Jr. We saw Dylan Roof in I think it was North Carolina, South Carolina, who shot up a black church. Okay? We saw Darrell Brooks Jr., who made claims on social media that he does not like white people. Okay? Both of these things are not okay. Racism exists. I'm not saying that there aren't racist people in this country, in this world. Of course there are. There are bad people everywhere. That's no excuse for their behavior, but it exists. But folks, real racism is being watered down by fake racism, okay? Real racism is being watered down by fake racism. And what I mean by that is you have people like Bubba Wallace or Jussie Smollett, who are saying, I was attacked, hate crime, and it's not true. Bubba Wallace, there's a noose hanging in the garage. It's the means of pulling the damn door down. Okay? So you have these fake incidents of race-motivated attacks, which dilutes the significance and makes it harder to pinpoint and fix the real racism that exists out there on any side. So now the next time somebody, maybe they are actually beaten on their walk home and somebody pours bleach on them or puts a noose around their neck or beats them because of the color of their skin, if it actually happens, the next time a story like this is reported, everybody's going to be very hesitant to talk about it. Why? Because Jussie Smollett proved that the mainstream media and a lot of people, if the story fits the narrative, are going to jump all over it and put it out there with no regard for what's actually true and false. Where are the fact checkers? Where are the lovely fact checkers that love to stick their labels all over these posts and whatnot? Well, missing context. This is partly false. This is partly true. This has been proven false by independent fact checker. Independent, I'm sure. Where are they? Where were they through this whole case? Where were they through Bubba Wallace? Where were they through Kyle Rittenhouse? Another one, I was speaking to the reporter again yesterday. We were talking about race. And, I had mentioned to the reporter that a lot of people had mentioned about Rittenhouse, if he was black, he would have been convicted. Well, you had an almost identical case, Andrew Coffey IV, who is black, who was on trial for murder and was acquitted on the grounds of self-defense. Would you look at that? Why did the media not talk about Andrew Coffey IV? Because if the media shows the rest of the world that the American justice system worked fairly for a black man, their entire narrative falls apart. Because covering that proves that we live in a fair and free society. Because covering that proves that we have a fair, free, and independent judicial system. At least we have remnants of that. So don't let anybody tell you that if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, he would have been convicted, because we had a black man on trial for murder who was not convicted on the grounds of self-defense. Jussie Smollett ought to be ashamed of himself, and honestly, I'm not really optimistic about the sentencing here. I'm told that each sentence could carry 3 years. So that would be 5. I don't know if that means he can go to jail for 15. I'm not 100% sure on that. But a lot of people seem to think, this is just going to be one of those, community service, probation. You think if I faked a hate crime that I would get community service or probation? You think maybe, if any of us did that we would get, that type of treatment? Very, very, very interesting scenario that is unfolding with Jussie Smollett. But at least we saw him guilty. Guilty. And so, yes, Jussie, this is, it's not, Chicago's definitely not MAGA country. But welcome to the United States of America, where the rule of law still matters. Okay? And so Jussie was convicted on 5 out of 6 charges. 3 years per offense or probation. Forbidden chocolate in the YouTube channel there. He won't serve a day. He's probably not going to serve any jail time. It's unfortunate, but we will see. We will see if the judge decides to make an example so that it is not it is not condoned by a means of lack of sentencing or lack of discipline. We'll see. Because if I was that judge, I would say, listen, you gotta, maybe not the maximum, but you gotta serve some time so that we discourage other people from doing things like this again. So that's what the Jussie Smollett story is. So he was found guilty yesterday. We had the guilty verdict, and 5 out of 6 counts. Final big news. Final big news. The New York governor's race had a a plot twist yesterday, which is, I believe, good news for Lee Zeldin and all of us who are going to be working like hell, fighting like hell, campaigning like hell, streaming like hell, volunteering and helping, and then eventually voting like hell. Letitia James, New York State's Attorney General, is not running for governor. Not running for governor. Letitia James is not running for governor. This is a good thing for two reasons. Number one, I think she was going to be the toughest candidate to beat for several reasons. Number two, she's not going to be the one in Albany running the show. She's going to be running for re-election as Attorney General, and it's our duty to make sure that she does not win that race. But it looks like Kathy Cuomo in a dress Hochul is doing far better in the polls than anybody would have thought. And that explains why she flew further left than Andrew Cuomo and almost further left than Elizabeth Warren. Once again, these fools, the New York State Union of United Teachers, NYSUT, has already come out, and we talked about it in the propaganda, while trying to cope with the implication. Oh, let's see if I can find it. Hold on. I'm in the propaganda. There it is. Back at school, this is Ned Hoskin. Ned Hoskin, who said that Kyle Rittenhouse, this is Ned Hoskin, Teachers Union. He's a content writer at Ned Hoskin on Twitter. He's the one who said that Kyle Rittenhouse being acquitted was a travesty, another day, another travesty. After a long summer of waiting for the state of New York to provide guidance on how to safely reopen schools this fall, newly installed Kathy Hochul finally cut bait and told K-12 schools what they needed to do. The union supports universal mask wearing as part of a layered mitigation strategy that also includes robust COVID-19 testing, contact tracing, proper ventilation, and other strategies recommended by public health experts. It also supports regular COVID-19 testing for school staff who are not vaccinated. Most importantly, it is critical that educators continue to have a voice of the implementation of vaccine requirements and other COVID policies at the local level. The union supports all of this crap that Kathy Hochul is doing, the teachers union. And I believe, because they do have a serious amount of influence, a lot of money and a lot of power, that might have played a role in Letitia James dropping out of the race so early. That might also have played a role in Hochul's poll numbers being so positive. It's a good thing, I think, for us that James is not going to be in this race. Right now, the field on the Democrat side looks like Kathy Hochul, Tom Suozzi, Jumaane Williams, and Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio, who's running New York City into the ground, who, despite meeting with folks, Eric Adams says he's using the Bill de Blasio playbook. Get what you vote for in New York City. Unfortunately, too many people made the wrong decision in November. But New York City is waking up. They have some crazy rallies out there that have been very high energy lately. So very, very nice to see that. But there you go. There you go. So Lee Zeldin will be running against either Kathy Hochul, maybe Tom Suozzi. Man, I hope it's Bill de Blasio. That would be a lot of fun. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's the update on the New York State governor's race. Folks, I'm going to apologize real quick for the negative tone of today's show. It's been a very, very tough week with all of these stories that are coming out and things that I've heard and things that I've seen. It's not getting any better. It's not getting any easier, but something's got to be done, and we are going to do it together. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for watching today. And if you're listening on the podcast, We Will Not Comply. It's available on every podcasting platform by searching We Will Not Comply. This is the logo, ladies and gentlemen, right there. So you'll see it, We Will Not Comply. And we are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And we are always here at the America First Media Campus, spreading the America First message, because we don't care about America Second, America Third, America Fourth. It's about putting America first. This is our country. It's our backyard, and that's who we have to put first. Our people, our country, America first. And when And when we do that, sometimes we uncover things that are not fun to talk about. But when we find out that those stories are not being given the proper coverage, we fill the void. Please remember and pray for the family of Bernice Simmons. Please go ahead and check out the show notes and see what happened to that lovely girl. And please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Like and follow our page on Facebook. Head over to our website right here, loudmajorityus.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Head over to the shop. Pick up a Let's Go Brandon shirt. Pick up a We Will Not Comply shirt. These shirts are cool. And keep repeating the 4 words that we repeat over and over and over again. What are those words, chat? Until the people in power finally get it or get the hell out of the way. Repeat those words from every soapbox, street corner, rooftop, mountaintop, bullhorn, bed of a pickup truck, wherever it is. Repeat those 4 words over and over and over again until the people in power get it or get the hell out of our way. And those 4 words, as we see happening in the chat, are, we will not comply. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching this morning and for listening and watching after the fact. Until next Monday at 7 a.m. from the America First Media Campus, thank you. God bless you. God bless America. Stop complying and stay loud.